Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to this month's NA4HA Virtual Professional Development Task Force webinar. My name is Jeffrey Burke. I'm the Task Force Chair for Virtual Professional Development, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you today to this month's feature webinar, 4-H Code Clubs, an introduction to CS First. Super excited about this webinar. It'll be presented by Jen Robertson-Honecker, who's an assistant professor and STEM specialist at West Virginia University, and Jenny Murray, who is also an assistant professor and 4-H curriculum specialist at West Virginia University. We are so excited to have them and look forward to learn about coding today. Jen and Jenny.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're really excited to share some of the stuff we've been doing here in West Virginia, as well as other states who've been working on these projects. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Yes, thank you, Jeffrey. This is Jenny Murray. We're just going to kind of go back and forth here with our presentation today. Hopefully by the end of the 45 minutes, you'll know the difference between the two Jens, the Jen and Jenny's here in our state office. But I'm Jenny Murray. I'm the Extension Curriculum Specialist, and I am going to tell you this is what we're hoping to cover in the next 45 minutes. We want to make sure that everyone is familiar or more familiar with the Google CS First curriculum that's available for free out there, and then learning strategies and tips for implementing this curriculum in a variety of settings, and learning how youth can exhibit their work after they've completed one of the CS First Club curricula.
So I'm Jen, the STEM specialist, the other side of the Jen here, Jen squared. And to kick us off, we wanted to just talk briefly about the 4-H CS pathway. So for some of you might already be involved in this with the 2017 grant between National 4-H and Google. And the 4-H CS pathway is a collaboration between 4-H and Google, which lays the groundwork for 4-H to deliver computer science education across our organization. And the way they mean to do this is through first establishing an official 4-H computer science career pathway, and then helping youth progress through that from casual interest in CS to dedicated studies and ultimately, or hopefully, a career experience in computer science. So within the 2017 grant, we had 10 states as full grantees, as well as 12 additional states, which were equipment-only grantees. And right now in this first 8 months or so, we've been testing and ramping up CS First through a variety of platforms, and CS First being one of those, a very important one, at least in our state. Other things are going to be coming out as well, with Utah creating a CS playbook, and also in October, our 2018 National Youth Science Day Challenge, which is going to be focused on computer science. And hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. So within the CS 4-H career pathway, thinking about how we want to ramp kids through to eventually thinking about this as a career, to explore, learn, practice, and experience. For today, we're going to be talking a lot about the explore and learn. So those would be the I might like to do this with one-time activities, then multi-step projects or events or camps through the learning of things that they're something they're interested in, might like to pursue more. Practice, we'll hit into that a bit today too, in taking our youth and team leaders to actually provide leadership roles within some of these CS First clubs. And finally, hitting the experience, and that would be more of like a practical application going forward with job shadowing and internships. But again, today through CS First, I hope we'll be able to show you how we can hit the first 3 of those 4-H career pathways by using this platform. So before we jump into CS First, it is a platform that wraps around a program called Scratch, and we wanted to make sure we talked just briefly about this in case you've never experienced Scratch. Scratch is a free block-style coding platform that was developed by MIT. You can check it out on the URL here, scratch.mit.edu. The really neat thing about Scratch is it allows youth to create really neat animations and videos and music using an object-oriented block-style coding. So if you look here, this is what the block style coding looks like. They are almost like puzzle pieces that kids click and drag to create different types of programs. They snap together almost like puzzle pieces. And personally, I've taught with Scratch with kids as young as 2nd grade all the way through high school. And so there's a lot of different ways you can use the program to ramp it up, both for introductory level youth as well as those who are very, very experienced.
So what is Google CS First? Basically, it's a platform the Google education side has put together that kind of wraps around and interfaces with Scratch and the block-based coding. There's instructional videos, educational resources, and starter projects for Scratch for the kids to then in turn create their own projects underneath different themes, and we'll get a little more into that. One of the wonderful things about Google CS First curricula is that there's no computer science experience needed for the youth or the adults facilitating it. So I know not everyone is STEM oriented when it comes to our fellow extension professionals, and so it can be very intimidating when it says, hey, let's go out and do some computer science programming with our youth. But that's one of the really great things about this curricula is those videos, those instructional videos, and the resources that are there. They have really very meticulously thought through how to work with novice individuals in terms of computer science and facilitating this. Jen and I are both very involved in Lego robotics here in West Virginia, and a lot of times I feel that this is very similar in nature. You have to know a little bit to help the kids troubleshoot, and they give you solutions and troubleshooting materials, but for the most part, the kids are going to explore and learn, and you're there to kind of keep them on track and help as needed. And so that's that last bullet point. The instructional videos just guide the kids through it with the educator or the adult facilitator helping the students individually. I know as a curriculum specialist and talking with colleagues of mine across the United States, there is a push. I mean, ultimately, we're all land-grant institutions, and we're using different curricula that's been created in our own state through our land grants, or we're using stuff from other land grant universities or even from National 4-H Council. But with changing information, sometimes those project books get a little dusty, that information isn't kept up to speed, or we're not keeping up with current trends in terms of education. And so there's a lot of discussion about using non-extension curricula and how do we vet this curriculum to make sure that it meets all of those aspects of the 4-H program, you know, the positive youth development, experiential learning model, and, you know, honestly, in using this non-extension curricula, I really think it meets that, and we'll talk about that a little bit farther as we get into the program. So, you know, it's up to each of your land grant universities whether it's okay to use a non-extension based curricula, but here in West Virginia, we have blessed this curricula for our extension faculty and 4-H volunteers to use.
So we wanted today to give you a brief introduction to CS First, and as part of that, I wanted to show a snippet of this video, training video that Google CS First used to have on their website. So we'll watch this for about 2 minutes because I think it does a great job of just giving you some highlights and also seeing images of CS First clubs in action.
The primary goal of Google CS First is to deliver a positive computer science experience to students. By watching CS First videos and creating projects, students get to create with computer science, and they come to understand how it impacts the world at large. Students build their own creative projects, like the ones you see here, with each CS First activity they complete. CS First uses club themes like fashion, video games, sports, and music to engage students who may not express initial interest in computer science and encourage them to participate. Students watch videos on the CS First website that show them step-by-step how to build a project on the Scratch website. CS First provides all club content online, so you will facilitate rather than teach the students in the traditional ways. Your role is to help them progress through the online videos, encourage them, and support them individually if they get stuck. The videos will lead club members through the steps required to build their projects. You are not responsible for teaching the computer science concepts covered in CS First to students. The instructional videos introduce new concepts as they are needed within the projects. Of course, if you want to add to the materials, you're welcome to do so. Each CS First Club theme includes 8 activities. Each activity is structured around a self-paced project, which everyone works on simultaneously. Each activity also includes add-ons that encourage further creativity and allow students to individualize their projects based on their own personalities and interests. Projects are small and manageable to ensure that students can complete them within the allotted time. We want every student to experience success. After students complete their core projects, encourage them to be creative and to do multiple add-ons. CS First content covers core computer science concepts, such as how to make the computer repeat actions. It also introduces real-world uses of computer science and shows how it impacts people around us. More importantly, it makes computer science approachable and engaging for students, providing a newfound sense of belonging in technology for diverse populations.
All right, so there was just a quick 2-minute video, and we're going to jump into more about some of the things that we just saw in that video. And I would just like to reiterate something that she said there. The videos, again, are designed such that, you know, the facilitators and gurus who are walking around the room need no prior experience in computer science. And we have agents and educators, librarians running these programs right now in West Virginia who've never done anything like this before. You know, Jenny and I, she mentioned our experience with robotics. So a lot of people are like, oh, sure, you can take this on. You have a lot of experience with working with youth in these types of environments. But again, we have people who have never done anything really remotely STEMmy, doing these activities and leading these programs with youth in their communities. All right. So we've got 2 different types of activities in CS First, and Jenny's going to tell us a little bit about how those work.
Okay, when Jen pulls up the website, you'll be able to see these a little bit easier, how you can gain access to them without even setting up an account through CS First. And you can, their lesson plans, all of their materials are open for viewing so that you can get an idea of what it is that will fit your audience. But there are one-time activities that are in there. One is the Create Your Own Google logo. This was created last fall as part of the Hour of Code project. And since then, they have added on a Valentine's Day version, as well as there will be one for Earth Day coming up in the next month. And so this is something that can be done one time. The kids don't have to be part of one of the themed clubs to participate in this. There's one called a High Seas Adventure, and there's also one, the Gumballs Coding Adventure. So kids who are familiar with the Cartoon Network's Amazing World of Gumball can really get engaged in it. And we know that our educators and 4-H volunteers may not be able to get a classroom for 8 class periods around one theme, but the educator or whoever they're partnering with says, well, I can give you 45 minutes to an hour. And so these one-time activities are very good for those scenarios where you're just kind of wetting their whistle. And we found in West Virginia that some of our county educators that are going out and using that one-time activity, that's what they needed to get the kind of foot in the door. And as soon as those educators or after school providers saw what they did in that 45 minutes to an hour with the Create Your Own Google logo one-time activity, they're like, oh, sure, we'd love to have you back to do this more extended learning program. So the long-term program, the complete themes that are in here, there's a total of 9 of them. It's really nice, and Jen will show this to you when she opens up the website, is out of these 9 themes, they indicate which ones are easier for the kids. So the novice, the beginning learner, may want to stick to the storytelling theme or the music and sound theme. And you can do more than one theme. You can kind of layer them back to back, or if you have a kid who has experience with Scratch, they may find one of the more moderate or challenging themes like friends or the sports. They may want to engage in that. And because they are individually working on these with their own videos, they could be working in the same room on multiple themes if you have the desire to juggle that with your educators. And so there are built-in pre-test and post-test, and Jen's going to show that to you because we know in extension we definitely want to make sure that we're measuring their knowledge gain and how the program's going. And then there's a free classroom kit that you can request if you set your program up enough weeks in advance.
All right, so as Jenny mentioned, we're going to jump in here into the website here in just a second. And as we do, we're going to look at several different things. You know, how do you set up your club? What is a host, guru, and volunteer, and how do you invite them? Navigating your dashboard within the system, as well as some of the resources available on the website.
And while she's getting that open, I think one of the things that Jen and I have talked about round and round is they use the word club for these different themes that are through here. And the way we use the word 4-H club can somewhat be confusing. So the CS First Club could be part of a traditional 4-H club. It could be a spin club. It could be just going in and doing school enrichment, or it could be after school programming. But they use the word club and we use the word club, and we may not be talking the same club at the end of the day. So Jen, I give it back over to you.
Yeah, and you might just think of this as a class. It could be a spin club that's 8 weeks long, or you could do it every other week. You could also, you know, visit our states, our counties are visiting in-school programs and after-school programs. There's a lot of different ways you could use this in terms of how you use it in your state. So again, here, these are the one-time activities, and you can see these are all difficulty easy or easier. So these are, you know, and as Jenny mentioned, this create your own Google logo, I highly recommend is one of your first time activities to both orient yourself or whoever the facilitator is going to be, as well as the youth. I'll jump down here and show these really quickly before I look at one of the one-times specifically. So here are our 9 units, and they give you a little brief discussion about what's going on within the units. Again, they're marked easier, moderate, and challenging. In West Virginia, we've primarily done the storytelling and the music and sound. However, I have run the game design at our code camp, which was a little bit more challenging. So if we go back up here to our one-time activities, I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like. So the create your own Google logo, as Jenny mentioned, they already have 2 themes in the system, the general as well as the Valentine's Day. And here in just another couple weeks, you're going to see another spot open up for their Earth Day theme challenge. So if we click in here, so this is what this looks like for the youth, and this is also very similar to what you would see within one of the theme challenges. So they have the main first video up here at the top, and then you have over to the side the Scratch starter project. And so when kids are working on this, they're going to have 2 tabs open at all times, one for watching their videos, and the second for, oops, I just closed that, for going into their 4-H project. So if we go into that here, so here's the 4-H, or the Google Starter project, and when we see inside, we can look at all the different letters, and kids, each of the videos will step them through how to change the costumes, how to make it animate, how to add music, and how to do other things within this. The really great thing about both the one-time activities as well as the multi-class themed activities is they have add-on videos. Because what you're going to find in every class is you've got a few youth who just jump into this wholeheartedly and they're really excited and they can get through it very quickly. That's just intuitive for them. But then you're going to have other youth that are slower. Maybe they're more meticulous about what they want done in a particular project, or they just need more time navigating and understanding the process. So the add-on videos allow youth to work at their own level and stage so that everyone's continuously working and getting a project done. So again, as she mentioned in the videos, that we see success for everyone. Multiple small projects that can lead to a final video where they're all getting to an endpoint. Just, you know, it depends on what they've added here. And we can see that the add-ons for this, there are a bunch within the one-time activities, you know, where they can chase, draw, spin, you know, add a backdrop and so forth. we go back to our main activities and look at these specifically, I'm actually going to jump into my account here in a second. But before I do that, the way in which you sign in is the same for youth and adults. You're going to click through here, and then there's going to be a different portal for each. And I'll talk about when we get into my my side here in a second, how the youth know where, oh, it's already signed me in, so it's not going to let me see that. Okay, so we'll look at that in a minute. I can log out. So here is my profile. And I have a bunch of clubs in my system because I encourage everyone in my state who's running a program to add me as a host as well. And that's really nice because I can see all of their data. So here is one of our clubs that's ongoing, and you can see here, this is the club code. So the first day when the kids are signing up to use CS First and they go into the student portal to sign in, they're going to type in whatever your club code is. And when they do that, it's going to assign them a unique username and password. And the neat thing about that is this unique username and password is not only going to log them in every time to CS First, it's also going to be able to log them in to Scratch anytime, anywhere, because they're going to save all of their projects to Scratch. And it also means that they're not going to have something identifiable on the internet, because they do share their projects there, and there are places and ways for people to chat, to talk to each other about their projects. So there's not going to be any identifiable information about the youth on the internet. So if we go into this particular club here, so in the setup, you can see we've already done our setup here, but it steps you through like picking your theme, picking your dates, and your schedule. If we go in here and look at the edit, what that looks like, you can jump through not only putting all of your various dates on where you want to run it, but what you intend the start and end time to be. We do have some counties that are more fluid and don't want to have a detailed schedule, so you can skip that and jump in and out as much as you want. And you can also edit it on the fly. We had to do a lot of that this spring as we had bad weather and strikes and so forth that were keeping us out of schools and unable to meet. All right, so here is where you decide what your role is, and then you can also invite volunteers and add additional hosts. So what does it mean to call someone a host versus a volunteer? They also use the term guru, so that's sort of interchangeable. A host is the person who's setting up the club. They may or may not be facilitating the club itself. However, whether you're working from your county office or the state office and you're helping facilitate this through another volunteer or a librarian or a school teacher, you want to make sure that both you and they are the host, because that's going to give you access to the student stats here, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Now, if you have other volunteers, school aides, other youth that are participating, parents and so forth, they're going to be listed as a volunteer. That's going to give them access to the materials, but they're not going to be able to see the student stats here. So all of the volunteers are invited here, and additional hosts are added here. So that's why I have a super long list of schools that I'm involved in, because that allows me to jump in and out and see the student stats for my state and see how everyone's doing. Especially if you're one of the Google grantee states, I will have a list of those in your contact. I recommend working with your state contact so they can be a host as well, so they can help report some of this data back as part of the 4-H grant. All right, so let's look at some of the other materials. If we jump in here, this is the really wonderful part of CS First. So I'm a longtime educator. I've done everything from public school to college teaching and to extension and volunteering. And we all know that there are all these programs out there for teaching youth, and they all claim to be super useful for the facilitator. But I've got to say, this is one of the most impressive programs that I've worked with in my 20+ years of teaching. So here you have access to all the videos that the students see. I highly recommend, if you're going to teach a class, that you are, the night before you teach it, you go through the student videos and see what the kids are seeing. Here, and we'll go ahead and open up one of these, we have detailed lesson plans to the point where they've even provided a script for the facilitator to talk to the youth about various things. Now, I don't personally use the script when I'm teaching, but that's certainly up to the facilitator and how they want to lead that. You can see they've got a guide here for time, and we'll talk a little bit more about other ways that they've provided some neat tools here to keep you on time, and really based on what your schedule is, because you can change that from 45 minutes is really what I would say is the least amount of time you want to have a class, up through an hour and 15 minutes. So here you can also click into those videos from here to see what the youth are seeing. And then if we go back here, they provide an example project. So here you could, especially if a child was stuck and you wanted to see what the end project might look like, here's one that's already done. The solution sheets, that's a PDF document that actually gives you some solutions to the various activities that they're doing. So you can take a quick look here and see if the kids are having trouble, if maybe they've popped in the wrong code. And again, that's just a guide, because each of the youth are going to be unique in how they create some of those, but it does look at some of the more particular parts that they're asking them to do in the activity. Now down here, as I mentioned, they have two really neat tools, and I can't jump into this one right now because this is an active class, but the agenda timer allows you to set up a time for your activities. And what it does is you start the agenda at the start of the class, and you say, oh, this class is going to run for 45 minutes or 60 or 75, and it gives you a breakdown and even some neat little noises and things to keep you motivated as the kids are stepping through the various activities. And they allow adjustment of those times if for any reason you ran over with your group discussion at the beginning, and so maybe taking a little bit of time away from some of the various remaining activities within the group. This is really, really useful throughout the progression of your classes. All right, so go back here. The last part that, again, Jenny mentioned, which is highly useful for us in the extension world as faculty, are the student stats. So this class has met 7 of the 8 class periods, so they'll be finishing up here within the next week or so. They give you each of the kids usernames here. So here's all of those unique usernames that are provided to them, as well as their passwords. So you, as a facilitator or teacher, can add their names in here so that if kids forget who they are, you've got a list for yourself. And again, that's for your use to be able to see. And you can open their projects if you want to look at some of those as well. Stars versus check marks just means how far they got through the activity, and if they got all the way through to the wrap up. Some kids were obviously absent for some of these. Down here is where we have the pre-test from the beginning, as well as each of the post-activity tests, and there'll be a final post-test that matches the pre on activity 8. So if we jump in here to activity 6, we can see some of the responses from the various activities. So they always ask what they thought about the club day that day. They ask them to list the best part of their day, and it's really cute because here the youth are really encouraged to share and to work with each other first, so to ask their neighbor if they have a question before they go and ask the guru or the volunteer. And a lot of times in these comments, I'll see things like, the best part of my day is when I got to help out my neighbor. And the next comment will be, the best part of my day is when my neighbor helped me out. And I just think that those are really great 4-H values in helping kids learn to work together and show leadership. They also have picture questions to help kids see if they're retaining the content and learning new steps. So we can see here that 55% of the class got the right answer here on picking the right kind of code. So they're always really short wrap-up questions and videos at the very end. Anything in here, Jenny, you think I missed about talking through the online portion that I should hit?
No, I think you have it covered. The one thing to note about the student stats, if you go in and you put in the students' names, that will only show up in your account. So if Jen wrote them all in there and I was also a host, I would not know who the students were. I would still just see that blank column there. So do note that if one person fills it out, it doesn't go across the board to everyone else. So I think we're ready to go back to our PowerPoint, Jen. When you set up a club, you have the option to either just use all of their electronic documents, or you can request for free a package that for up to 30 students. And you can see this is a package I received back in the fall when I set up my first class about storytelling, and it got this cute little box from Google CS First, and inside of it I have the passports, and there's enough for 30 students, stickers that go inside the passports, which the kids in their program also get an electronic sticker on there showing which activities they've completed. So they have a hard copy as well as they have it in the computer program. You get a nice solution sheet there, you can see in the second picture down, as well as the Google Plus board, and that's for the wrap-up portion and the kids doing shout-outs, which we'll talk about in the club overview, and then some marketing materials at the bottom. A few things that you don't have in the box that you can get are the club plans. Those are available online. I'm guessing they're just cumbersome enough. It's cost prohibitive to put them in there. And then there's also a contingency plan. So what if your internet goes down? What if the websites aren't working? What if, there's a contingency plan available for download directly on their website. And all of these are on their website. So say you go in and do this with an after-school program and you have 40 students and you got the box, but you only have 30 supplies, you can print more passports or the stickers. It tells you what template you need to buy to print them on. You can print any of this stuff directly from their website. But it is nice that if you set up your program, I think you have to set it up at least 3 weeks in advance. They will mail this package to you for free.
All right, so what does a typical club day look like for CS First? So we're going to use a 60-minute time frame here, but again, they adjust it within the agenda timer